Isn't the purpose of being in a relationship to have love, stability, trust, and safety? Well, this was not the case between Shayna and Rayan's relationship. On October 12, 2012, Rayan Carter Poston was at his home in Highland Heights, Kentucky. He was getting ready to go and grab some drinks with then Miss Ohio Audrey Bolte. This was something that had been planned for months in advance, and it was supposed to be their first date. The two were mainly chatting and texting each other as they had never met before, and this would have been their first physical meeting. However, Rayan never showed up. Audrey was devastated as she thought she had been stood up, so she decided to go back home. But that was never the case. Rayan never made it as he was already executed, shot 6 times by his on and off girlfriend, Shayna Hubers. We ask ourselves what could possibly have happened between Shayna and Rayan for her to commit such a brutal and heartless act. Rayan's passing struck his family the hardest. At first, they were entirely in disbelief when they received the news that their friend, brother, and son had passed away. They said Rayan was as bright and kind and principled as he was caring. When asked about his relationship with Shayna, his on and off girlfriend, they said, "We want to clarify that Rayan was trying to end this relationship. He was trying to move on with his life." It was clear to say that there was no need to ask who was standing behind the trigger. Shayna was the one who called 911 to report the shooting. Once the police arrived at Rayan's house, she was the one who received them. It only took the police a few hours before the 21-year-old was charged with Rayan's execution. Luckily, the police didn't have to hunt her down as she was already in custody. One of the last sound conversations we had was that he wanted to get a nose job, and I shot him right there. I gave him his nose job, which he enjoyed.
And I grabbed the gun and I shot him.
I gave him his nose job.
These were Shayna's words when she was interrogated about the murder. Did she just confess to his execution? In the interrogation room, Shayna said many things that all hinted at her being the murderer. She said something like, "I don't know if anyone will ever want to marry me if they knew I shot and executed my boyfriend in self-defense. Not funny." She acted weirdly, even singing Amazing Grace while dancing around the room saying, "I did it. Yes, I did it."
I did. Yes, I did.
Through the power of Facebook in March 2011, Rayan met Shayna. Rayan sent Shayna a friend request after seeing her photo on the social media platform, with the then 19-year-old wearing just a bikini. This was according to her testimony from her July 2015 sentencing hearing. Soon after, they met in person, went on dates, took photos, and did just what any average young couple would do. However, the friends and family members believe that Rayan was on the rebound after a long relationship with Lauren Worley. Later on, it is said that Rayan lost interest in Shayna early in the relationship. Still, he was unable to break it off completely. Shayna, on the other hand, saw it differently. A graduate of Eastern Kentucky University, she wanted to be a guidance counselor. She claimed that Rayan's being too nice was not his problem. However, she later claimed that Rayan was a controlling, abusive boyfriend who always had a loaded gun in the house. But this story of hers didn't quite add up. How could someone who everyone claims to be a lovely person be a controlling person? Nikki Carnes, Rayan's neighbor, claims that Rayan was playing some mind game with Shayna. Well, this was according to what Shayna told her. Nikki said that Rayan would always tell Shayna that she needed a boob job, a facelift, that she was fat or needed to lose some weight. However, one person who never believed Shayna committed the crime was her mother, Sharon Hubers, saying that Shayna was far from evil and that she has a heart of gold. Everyone close to Rayan was claiming that Shayna was the one with issues. One person who testified this was his ex-girlfriend, Lauren Worley. She said, "She used to go places, asking everyone if they knew me and if they thought I was prettier than her. It was like she had an obsession beyond Rayan." So, was this the case with Shayna? Another friend of Ryan's, Allie Wagner, claims that Shayna was after something, like making him settle down with her. However, Rayan just couldn't agree to that. Allie even read Ryan's message, saying, "Literally, probably the craziest freaking person I have ever met. She almost scares me." But this was not the only time Rayan commented about Shayna. He also texted his cousin. "This is getting to be restraining order level crazy. She's shown up at my condo 3 times and refused to leave each time." However, for Shayna, things were different. She once wrote to her friend saying that she would shoot Rayan when they went to the shooting range and make it look like an accident. Odd that this was a few weeks before Rayan's passing. When Rayan was finally fed up with Shayna, he told her in February 2012 that she could go ahead and tell people that she broke up with him. However, Shayna did not stop texting him, even claiming that she loved him far more than he deserved. She continued texting him repeatedly, sometimes even texting him 50 to 100 times a day. Even Rayan's friends knew of the constant texting, but never thought that Shayna was any danger to Rayan. The relationship between Shayna and Rayan was always on and off. In late August, Rayan had enough and texted her, "I'm turning off the phone and padlocking the door." Reports claim that over the next 9 hours of texting, Rayan received 100 messages. The only problem was that Shayna still had a key to Rayan's condo. On the night of October 11th, according to Sharon Hubers, the two spent time at her place, after which Shayna went to sleep at Rayan's place. On the evening of October 12th, around 9 p.m., Shayna was dialing 911 with a deceased Rayan on the floor. According to the call recording, Shayna told the operator, "I murdered my boyfriend in self-defense." When she asked to give further details, she said, "He beat me and tried to carry me out of the house, and I came back in to get my things, and he was right in front of me, and he reached down and grabbed his gun, and I grabbed it out of his hand and pulled the trigger."
Campbell County 911.
Ma'am, I killed my boyfriend in self-defense.
What happened exactly? What happened?
He beat me and tried to carry me out of the house, and I came back in to get my things, and he was right in front of me, and he reached down and grabbed the gun, and I grabbed it out of his hand and pulled the trigger.
The 911 call was not Shayna's first call after the execution. She called her mother, who later told her to call the police. When Shayna was taken into custody, she asked for a lawyer. She then started giving details even before the lawyer was called. She would give some weird stories to the police officers, which constantly shifted. She even said, "He's pulled guns on me as jokes before, and I shot him in self-defense because he's done stuff before where I've hit my head on a headboard and could have died." The conversations were all one-sided since none of the officers were really saying anything. At another point, she said, "I shot him a couple more times just to make sure he was gone, because I didn't want to watch him suffer." During a 2014 bail hearing, she was given bail of $1.5 million. However, Shayna's family was unable to afford it. So Shayna has been locked up since October 2012. This meant that through all her proceedings, she remained locked up. During her murder trial in Campbell County Circuit Court, which began in April 2015, she pleaded not guilty because self-defense. The prosecution claimed that she was just an obsessed stalker who refused to accept the fact that Rayan no longer wanted to be with her, so she decided to shoot him in cold blood. The jury found Shayna guilty on April 25, 2015. She was then sentenced to 40 years in prison.
The jury find the defendant, Shayna Hubers, guilty of murder under instruction number 3.
Which many people close to Rayan found too lenient. However, it doesn't end there. She went on to win a new trial on appeal in 2016 when it was found that there was a jury member who had failed to disclose a felony conviction. This gave Shayna the perfect chance for a second trial. During the second trial, which began in 2018, Shayna testified, giving the court her side of the story. However, this trial did not end any differently. In fact, this time she got life imprisonment, with her first chance of parole being in 2032. She tried to appeal the second verdict, but her motion was denied. At 30 years old, she is serving her time at the Kentucky Correctional Institution for Women.